Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of Ask Leah. Yep, we are 14 episodes in and still going strong. And thank you to everyone who keeps sending me some cracking great questions and responding in such a positive way to what I'm doing here. I love it. I love sharing ideas, advice, talking through issues. So if you have a question that you'd like answered related to communication or really any soft skill, please ask me live. I mean, I love getting the questions through the week, but if you have a question, it's popped in your head now, please do jump on and ask me live. Now, I do have to do a bit of forewarning tonight. My husband is out and I have 3 children who have been sent to bed and will hopefully remain in bed, but that does remain to be seen. So we might get a visitor. I'm hoping not. I know a lot of my regular viewers are like hoping yes for the kids in the background, if for nothing else, just to see how I react to that and try to keep a straight face, because they have this great habit of walking in when I'm in the middle of giving advice on a really serious issue. But we will see how we go. Okay, I had a great question come through. Over the last couple of days, I had a conversation with someone via private message about some questions they had, and I actually caught up with this person today on the phone to talk the issue through, because it was an issue that was quite complex. Hi, Chris. It was an issue that was quite complex and related to family and farming, and when it's business and family together, as we've had a couple of questions related to this on Ask Leah, it can be really tricky. So anyway, I had the conversation with this person through the day today, and I'll just give you an idea of some of the things we talked about and some of the advice in a more generic way tonight. So this person needs to have a conversation with their parents about their intentions for a farm. They lease the farm. There's never been that conversation before. Actually, that's not true. This person has tried to have the conversation before with her parents, and it hasn't really gone well. It's predominantly, look, it's a generational thing. People didn't necessarily talk about these things. One parent has quite a passive communication style, so tries to avoid these sort of conversations. The other one gets quite defensive, so anytime they try to raise it, even in a really fair, reasonable way, and look, they're not asking for anything as such. They're really just asking for some clarity around the future for them, because this person who's working on the family farm as well really needs to know what those intentions are, so they know, are they investing in the farm as well, or do they need to be considering, you know, other options into the future? Will they be staying in that business or not? So these are big questions that are tied up in the family's future, in the finances, in the business. It's a conversation that needs to be had. But she's tried to have this conversation multiple times and it's just deflected or shut down. And it's getting to the point where emotions are starting to run high and the tension is really building, because she's getting frustrated because she doesn't know what the future holds. So we had a chat today about how she could possibly go about this conversation. And it became pretty clear after speaking with her on the phone that having a conversation with her parents hasn't really worked in the past, even when she's really tried to be quite fair and reasonable. And look, sometimes this happens because some people don't deal well with direct communication, even when it is really reasonable. So what we talked about today was the possibility of her putting some of it down in a letter. And those who listen to me often know that I am usually always advising people to have face-to-face conversations if they can. But in this case, this person's tried multiple times with no success. So what I've suggested she does is go away and do a whole heap of thinking first and get very, very clear about what it is that she's after in terms of what information is she actually asking for. So the first point is to get clear on what she needs. Really dot point it down, get very clear on that. And then the next point is super important, and it's to articulate why. Why does she need that information from them? Why is she seeking it? And it's to make this clear and also put her hat off her head and onto theirs, to see it from their perspective and have some empathy, because she needs to make it clear that the reason she's having this conversation isn't to be difficult. She's not trying to cause conflict. The reason she's having this conversation is so that she has that clarity for the future and can make decisions for her family, know if she's investing in this property or not. She needs to make that really clear. Putting her parents' hat on, she needs to address some of the concerns they might have in this conversation. You know, she's not asking these questions to put pressure on them or to push them, and she understands that this is something they would prefer not to speak about. I think, you know, some of the comments before have been, oh, it's all in the will. But that, you know, that doesn't work. That avoidance isn't going to work for this woman, because she needs to know what the plans are and what's happening for her future security. So what she needs, why she needs it, and being really clear, being empathetic and compassionate, not going in like a bull at a gate. What she needs and why. She needs to explain how it will actually benefit the family and the farm, the broader family as well, to have this clarity now while her parents are alive, while they can make their wishes known. You know, a lot of the time, and you really do see it a lot, people avoid these conversations because they can be tricky. So they avoid them when they're alive. They put things in wills, but there's not someone there to clearly explain rationale and thinking, and then it blows up into some horrendous family disputes that oftentimes could have potentially been avoided or at least mitigated if there'd been some conversations about this when people have been living. So after she works out her why it's important, how it will help everyone and the family, she needs to then end with where to from here, you know. And what we suggested today was that she asked, could they have a face-to-face meeting to discuss these issues further in a couple of weeks. Now, the reason behind doing it this way, given she's tried to have this conversation before, is because it's quite clear that both her parents, for different reasons, need processing time. They do struggle and find it confronting to have this direct conversation. So the benefit of having it written down in a letter is they can read it in their own time. They can process it. They might get angry initially, or they might get defensive initially, but they can process it and think about it. And then hopefully, fingers crossed, they can have the conversation. Now, when I was speaking to this woman today, we did address the issue of what if it still doesn't go to plan? What if her parents still say to her, no, we're not going there now, we're not having this conversation, or get angry, try to bring other things into it? Because that very much may happen. You know, these people, they've communicated like this their whole life. It doesn't make them bad people at all, but it's their style and how they communicate, passive and passive-aggressive / defensive. So the point of doing all this, one, is to give her the best chance of getting the outcome she wants, or at least getting a result so she knows one way or the other. But two, If her parents choose not to engage and still say, no, we're not going there, we're not having this conversation. If she has to make a decision to walk away from the family farm and to look for a property elsewhere because she doesn't have that certainty and clarity here, she's going to be able to do that, hard as it would be, knowing that she did absolutely everything she could to have this conversation in the best, kindest, compassionate way that she could. And at the end of the day, as you've heard me say before, that's success. Success isn't necessarily getting the outcome you want. Success is being able to walk away knowing that you did everything that you could. Thank you for joining, Jess, Laura, Jenny. I'm just reading your comment again. Yeah, that's a really good point too. Hiding your head doesn't work, and she needs to check what the government changes to are on succession planning. Otherwise, it does. It ends up in a big mess when we don't address these things. So I suppose my message to everyone out there, particularly those in the older generation who might be watching this, is I know it's awkward to talk about this thing, and none of us like to think of the fact that we all die one day. But if you really want to, do what's best for your family and try to reduce these horrible spats that happen, and I'm not saying you'll avoid it in every case because it can still happen, but if you have the conversations when you're alive so that it's clear and everyone hears the same message, it can absolutely be worthwhile. So have these conversations, have the discussions. And I really hope for the woman who I know will watch this either live or at some point tonight, I wish you every success. I've got to say, I said this to her today, I take my hat off to her, because when you are raised in an environment where this is the communication style that you've been taught as a child, you've got a passive parent and a passive aggressive parent who they avoid the conversation or get defensive. The fact that she is reaching out to me, that she's really working hard to improve her communication skills to give herself the best chance of success, it's impressive. A lot of people don't do it. A lot of people just go, well, this is the way I am, fly off the handle and go an emotional response. They don't get the outcome they want. Then it does blow up into a massive family dispute. So good luck to her. The second point I wanted to chat about tonight, and please remember, stick your questions in on the side in the comments if you want me to answer one while we're talking here tonight. This morning on Gippsland FM, for those who get up nice and early, I'm on Gippsland FM every Thursday morning at 6:20 for a segment called Soft is the New Hard. And that's the whole concept of soft skills actually being often the hardest things to master. We can learn the technical skills quite easily sometimes, not always. There's technical skills that take a lot of work. But in general, technical skills are easier to learn than this soft stuff. The people bit is the hardest part. This morning on Gippsland FM, I spoke about how vulnerability in leadership fosters trust and respect. And I just wanted to touch on that here tonight and to really make clear what I mean. What I'm not saying is that you go for weak leadership, okay? I'm not suggesting that at all. That's not, when we talk about vulnerability, that's not what we're saying. But the old style of leadership where we rule with an iron fist and we show no emotion and it's all about strength and no warmth does not generally work. Or you will quickly realize, if you lead with that aggressive style, that people will do the minimum for you. They will jump through the hoops that they have to jump through, but they won't go over and above for you. You'll never get your best work, your best performance out of people if they are only doing what you say out of fear and obligation, okay? Even if you're not aggressive, even if you are a pretty reasonable and considered person, if you never show any humanity, you will struggle to connect with your people, okay? So what am I talking about when I talk about vulnerability fostering trust and respect? What I'm talking about is if you make a mistake, put your hand up and own it. Acknowledge that you stuffed up. Apologize, move on. You don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to beat yourself up or say, oh, I'm such an idiot, rah, rah, rah. You don't have to carry on. But own it, acknowledge it, move on. If you don't know the answer to something, don't fudge it. Acknowledge that you don't know the answer. You know what? Look, I'm a bit unsure about this too, but I'll find out. Now, you've got to be careful with this stuff because people look to leaders for leadership. They want, to feel confident and secure in your decisions. So it's not about you saying, oh, I've got no bloody idea. It's about you saying, you know what? I'm not sure, but I will find out for you. So you're still giving them confidence, but you're acknowledging it. This is something some of our politicians could learn. How many times, particularly at election times, do you see people, fudging answers under the pressure of an interview, and it doesn't foster trust and respect. You think you don't even know the answer there and you've just, blustered your way through. People see it, okay? People see it when you're faking it. The other thing that you can do to foster trust and respect with vulnerability is to show people that you're human. So you are allowed to show compassion and humanity. If there is a weakness that you're working on, sometimes I can be like a bull at a gate. I know I can do it. I know I do that sometimes, and it's something that I'm working on myself. If I'm working in a team or a group environment where I'm looking to make a connection, I might share that. I might say, hey, that's something I'm working on. If you see me do that, call me out on it. And rather than have people go, oh, geez, she can be like a bull at a gate. Sometimes people say, wow, she knows that. She admits it. She's not scared to admit that she's got a weakness, but she's doing something about it. The other thing you can do is lead with warmth. The evidence and the research coming out of Harvard Business School and, documented in the Harvard Business Review is really clear. It's so important to lead with warmth first, strength second. Absolutely, the strength in leadership needs to be there, but leading with warmth first shows people that you care. And that's what we all want in a leader. We want to know that they care about us, that, they have our backs, that yes, they're leading us, but, they're protecting us as well. So you lead with some compassion and empathy and have the strength there too, but you go for the warmth first. And if you're after a brilliant example of this at the moment, you just have to look across the ditch to New Zealand, where we have the fabulous Jacinda Ardern as Prime Minister, and, not even looking at any of the politics or the policy, but the way that woman leads is an incredible example to us all of, one, authentic leadership, but how empathy, compassion, and a little bit of vulnerability can absolutely make you shine in that role. So that's about it from me tonight. I haven't got a long one. Unless someone's going to pop in a question for a last minute discussion, I'm going to sign off in a sec. Hello to those who have just joined. I'd like to do a couple of shout outs before I sign off tonight. Big shout out to the Gippsland Community Leadership Program class of 2018 who are graduating as we speak, and to all of my 2017 friends and colleagues who are at the graduation. I had hoped to be there tonight, but hubby is away for work, so I am on duty at home. I am super impressed that not one of the 3 kids who I know are tearing around the house, goodness knows what I'm going to find, has come in. So that is always a wonderful thing. That's it from me tonight. Enjoy your week. Enjoy election time on the weekend. If you're like me, you actually really do get excited to follow all of that stuff. For those folk who are looking for somewhere to vote on Saturday, my shout out is come to Willow Grove. I will be there staffing a combined collaborative bake sale for the Willow Grove Kinder, Playgroup and Primary School. I am leaving this live to go cook more yo-yo biscuits. It's going to be awesome. Next week, I think I will probably touch on the importance of collaboration over competition and why I think it is absolutely key to the success not only of small towns, but of our regions and our small businesses. Collaboration over competition all the way. Have a great night, everyone. Cheers.